Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
Welcome to the hybrid meeting of the Governance, Resources and Strategy Committee. And I ask everyone to please mute their microphones at all times unless invited to speak by myself. For those of you who are physically in the council chamber this evening, can I ask or remind you that when speaking into your microphone, you need to wait until you can see yourself on the screens so the live feed can pick you up your comments. If you speak before your image is projected, those listening on the live feed or via Zoom will not hear anything you say. And this is obviously particularly important in the case of a vote being required. So item number 1, apologies, and I've received an apology from Councillor Kevin Savage. Is there any other apologies? No. Nope. So item 2 then, declarations of interest. Content to take them now or as we move through the business? Okay. So agenda item 3 then is the business plans, and Sharon McNichol is going to give us an overview.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair, and good evening, members. I just want to give you an overview of items 3.1 to 3.3, which are the 2023-24 business plans for the Estates and Asset Management Department, the Strategy and Performance Directorate, and the Chief Executive and Deputy Chief Executive Departments. Just by way of context, business plans are part of the Council's Strategic Planning and Performance Management Framework. The Council has a corporate plan which sets out the Council's high-level ambitions in terms of improving quality of life in the Borough by providing leadership for a strong economy and a successful place, whilst delivering services people need. Business plans are brought to members at the start of the financial year to show the key actions that departments will undertake in the coming year to deliver on members' ambitions for the Borough. Regular reports are brought to committees on achievement of the actions and performance measures which the business plans contained, and in that way we give members assurance about delivery throughout the year. So members are being asked to approve the business plans that are set out in the appendices at item 3.1, 3.2 and 3.3. And there's a number of officers here today who can take any questions you might have about them. Mark, Martina, Elaine, Charlene and myself are happy to take any questions, but members are asked to approve the business plans for the coming year. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Sharon. So 3.1 then is the business plans for Estates and Asset Management Department. If I had a proposer and a seconder.
Thank you, Chair. Normally just raise the hand to propose, which we'll do, but I just want to take the opportunity to wish yourself and the Vice Chair well in the year ahead, but happy to propose that item, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lavey, and bring in Councillor Duffy.
Yes, Chair. I want to wish the two of you the best in the year ahead now, and I second that proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. All agreed? So item 3.2 then is the business plans for the Strategy and Performance Directorate. And again, a proposer and seconder.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose, and again, wish you both the very best this year.
Thank you, Alderman Moutry, and I'll bring in Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, and welcome to the Chair. And I hope you have a good year. I've chaired this committee; it's quite something at times. So all the very best. I know you'll be good. It's just I'm happy to second this, by the way, Chair. But just one thing did stand out there, which I'm really delighted to see. I'm glad to see, actually, just on 3.2, is it states there. I will be brief because I know there's another item later on in the committee about the new equality and disability action plans that you're looking at here. So will that, I'm assuming that that's going to be cross-cutting through all the departments, because at the minute, although I have to say, and I want it on record, that I'm very proud, I've said this before actually, Chief Executive, I'm quite proud of this council for how we have moved forward on these matters. And I genuinely do think, well, I know actually we're doing pretty well as compared to other councils in the province. I'm very proud to say that about ABC Council. And some of the initiatives that we have brought on, I know other councils do look at and are very proud of and wonder how we're doing it. And I know how we're doing it because we've got good supportive officers when it comes to these issues. So I'll be interested to see how this works out, because I know there's another item coming about the autism strategy. So I'll maybe leave it to then. But it's good to see that this is maybe going to take in a few more departments rather than them sitting a wee bit in isolation, which is starting to creep in a little. So I'll leave it at that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Flaherty, all agreed? Yep, grand. So item 3.3 then is the business plan for the Chief Executive and Deputy Chief Executive Department. Could I again have a proposer and a seconder? Alderman Baxter. You. So there's 3 information items in item 3, and with the information items this evening, I'm just going to take any questions if there's information in relation to information items, or officers are here to answer any questions, so I'm not going to have officers presenting on them. We'll bring in Alderman Moutry.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask a brief question on 3.6. And in the report under Human Resources and Organisational Development, the green standard is only 46%, less than half. Can I ask, are we doing anything different here, or do we need an extra resource or anything to bring this up? Because it's been like this for quite a while now, and we really need to see some improvement.
I'll bring in Charlene on that one.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Yes, Alderman Moutry, I think it's fair enough to say it has been a particularly difficult year. Industrial action, certainly from August through till October, did impact on human resources capacity. As well as that, members will be aware over the last number of months, we've been working through the RPA process as well, assimilating staff into their job descriptions. And we have had also an inability to fill some vacant roles, which were really key roles. So there has been a delay in us identifying, for example, our business partners in human resources. And we also have not been able to appoint yet a project manager for the HR system. So they start to impact in terms of the targets that you will see there. I think it is probably worth a further conversation around resources needed in human resources and organisational development, particularly because new issues do come up each day, and then that veers that same team to be able to pick up on those. So I think we could identify if there is a further ask, we will certainly bring that back and share. But at this time, we have set out our business plan for the year ahead based on the capacity that we feel is available. Okay, thank you.
Alderman Moutry. So we'll move on then. So agenda item 4.1 is the draft performance improvement plan 23-24, and Denise Gervin's going to bring us that item.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This is a decision item for members to approve the draft performance improvement plan for 23-24 and to note the consultation report. We carried out a consultation exercise on the proposed performance improvement objectives, and that closed on the 26th of April. And that was an opportunity for stakeholders to provide their feedback on our proposed areas of improvement. Consultation analysis showed support for these areas. Appendix 1 in your papers provides detail of the performance improvement plan, including the objectives, the measures we'll undertake, the targets and the actions. It also includes more detailed information on how we went about identifying the performance improvement objectives, timetable, and our consultation processes, all details that is required by the Northern Ireland Audit Office. Appendix 2 is the consultation report, providing a summary of our consultation responses. I'll also highlight to members correspondence from the Department for Communities that was received on the 5th of June. And within that letter, they advised they take on board the account of the upcoming local elections and some concerns that were raised with other councils in terms of meeting the statutory publication date of the 30th of June. Subject to approvals today, I would advise Council is in a position to continue to publish and meet that deadline of the 30th of June. Therefore, we're recommending to members tonight to approve the draft performance improvement plan and to note the consultation report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Denise. Up to yourselves, members. I need a proposer and a seconder if there are no questions. Bring in Councillor Duffy.
Happy to propose, Chair. Thank you.
You, Councillor Duffy. Seconder. And the other Councillor Duffy. Thank you very much. So item 4.2 then is the safeguarding social media campaigns, request for reserves allocation, and I'll bring in Martina.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Members, this is also a decision item where members are asked to approve a request to set aside £30,000 within reserves as Council's contribution towards funding 6 safeguarding PR campaigns in conjunction with Newry Morning Down District Council and the other 2 trusts over the next 3 years. Members will be aware that we have already run a number of successful campaigns with those partner organisations over the last few years. And there's a request then therefore to carry that on and to plan over the next 3 years to run those campaigns. So we're just asking for members' approval to do that and to set aside those reserves. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Martina. I'll bring in Alderman Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. So just in terms of the request, how much is the trust putting into this? It just seems that really it should be the trust funding this, and I don't see why. Is it conjunction? How long have we done it for, Martina?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alderman Baxter, for the question. We have been doing it in conjunction with the trusts, and they have contributed financially to it as well as Newry Morning Down Council. And if we were to do it, run the campaign separately, obviously, you know, it would cost more, which is also detailed there in the report, that probably the net saving would be about £15,000 per year across the partnership. I can get you more very detailed information in relation to that. Council's contribution so far has been £10,000, or just short of maybe £10,000 over the last 2 years, and money was set aside in reserves last year for last year, and our most recent campaign had taken place in March past. Thank you.
You back in, Alderman Baxter?
Thank you, Chair. Just a follow-up question, really. Where did this originally come from? Was this a trust initiative, or did Council bring this forward? Or
I suppose just originally there is a lot of cross-sectoral work that takes place in relation to safeguarding, and all of the 11 councils are involved in a partnership arrangement with the trusts in relation to safeguarding right across the board, and have been for several years. And that is where, out of that partnership working, that this has come forward. It's probably not the only sort of initiative that we work together with the trusts and the other councils on in relation to this, and there is a lot of cross regional working, and our own safeguarding coordinator does chair the local or the Northern Ireland, the regional subgroup in relation to safeguarding for the other, in relation with the other councils as well. So it's just a continuation of that work, and it's something that it probably is a low cost way of doing things because of now with the, obviously more recently with the use of social media as opposed to, you know, just pushing out adverts through other local media outlets or posters or that sort of thing. So it's really to get the message out there on social media, and there's been a lot of positive feedback in relation to recent campaigns where they have information on the target audience and how much feedback there's been, which again is detailed, some of that details within the report.
Content, Alderman Baxter. Bring in Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask how you plan to measure the benefits or the outcomes of this spend.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson, for your question as well. Well, I suppose in relation to the reach of the campaign, that is one of the ways in which that is measured, the same as we have done in previous years in relation to the reach of within those social media platforms. And you can see that within the detail of the report there. In the 3 years previous, the campaign reached across all of the platforms included there was in excess of 350,000 people. And we have had in the recent campaign in March 23, local interest, it was actually picked up by the BBC, they're presenting we're presenting there in relation to a regional conference. So it's part of a whole series of campaigns that is run by councils, by the people that have more involvement in safeguarding, I suppose, in relation to the trusts essentially. But it's part of that civic leadership part as well the council plays in relation to items of this nature, not just in relation to our safeguarding role within council and the services that we provide, but that outreach and partner approach that we would take with others. We haven't, just to maybe answer your question more fully, we haven't actually decided that we go out and do any sort of survey or evaluation process in relation to that. But I can certainly bring back more information again to you in relation to that, or how maybe the 3 partner organisations or 4 organisations would be looking more closely at that evaluation in future.
Dan, Councillor Ferguson. So members, if there's no more questions, I'll need a proposer and a seconder. Nope. Proposed by Councillor Lavery. Seconder. Seconded by Councillor Donnelly. Thank you, members. 2 information items there on the Rural Needs Act and the Autism Friendly Action Plan. If there's any questions, bring in Councillor Flaherty.
Yes, Chair, 4.4, as I alluded to earlier. And I know it's only an information item, so again, I'll try to be brief. You know I do try. I alluded to this before. I'm not quite sure who have to address, Martina. We do, I mean this sincerely, we have much to be proud of. We have much to promote, and we have much to be positive about. This doesn't exactly fill me with as much positivity as I would have hoped for, I have to say. And it probably goes back to what I said earlier, in that we have departments that are working really hard on this. And then I look and I see that only 20% of health and recs staff have done their training for increased understanding of autism and conditions. You know, and that's one of our front-facing departments. That's really disappointing. And that worries me ever so slightly when I look at some of the ambers and the reds. The most important sentence in the report for me is that it's equality of opportunity. That's what this is all about. And it also says for those with autism and other customers with a range of disabilities. And that is one thing, I've mentioned this to a number of officers involved in this group. What I would never want is for any other group to feel excluded because we're focusing on the term autism. Now, I have spoken to a number of directors about this. I understand that the notice of motion that initiated this, which seems like an eon ago now, was quite specific, and I understand the process involved in that, and it's not that I want to change that, but that's why I'm glad to see these other action plans coming through, because that is some of the feedback that I had got over the last wee while, that although I would know, and officers would know, and the staff delivering the programmes would know that other children could avail, it maybe just wasn't put across that way. And people were maybe self-excluding for that reason. So I think that's where these plans will come into play, and I'll be happy to see those coming forward, if that's all right, just to note, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Flaherty, and bring in Alderman Bauer.
Yeah, it's okay, Chair. Councillor Flaherty said what I was going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderman Bauer. So we move on then, members, to item 5.1, and it's the consultation documents from external organisations. And Elaine is available if any members have any questions around those consultation documents. If there are no questions, could I have a proposer and a seconder? Proposed by Alderman Moutray and seconded by Alderman Baxter. All agreed? Thank you, members. Moving on then. There's no questions on the information items? No. So we have 3 decision items under item 6. So 6.1. Oh, sorry, Alderman Bauer, bring you in.
Thank you, Chairman, and apologies for just sort of getting in at the tail end of your moving on. I was just wondering, quick question. And first of all, I want to thank the team there for the report on Banbridge Place Plan update 5.3. It was just sort of a question. Once we get to sort of the launch of it, what is the process following that? Thank you, Chair.
Elaine, do you want to deal with that one? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. To answer Alderman Bauer's question, the place plan, we haven't got a definitive date yet for when we'll have the place plan finished. So we're hoping to bring the draft through committee in September. It'll go out then for public consultation. We're hoping then to have the final plan agreed and approved December, January. We'll arrange then a launch for it. After that time, we can talk to members about the implementation. So our Armagh place plan, how that works is we bring regular updates through on the implementation of that and how the actions are going. And I would foresee something similar for the Banbridge place plan. It works both through an internal working group here in council made up of heads of department who have responsibility for delivery on those actions, and also through our community planning process. And there's a subcommittee within our community planning structure called a place board, where all of the external organisations there have oversight and review the implementation of the place plans as well. But when we come to that point, I'd be happy to bring a paper with a bit more detail on that to members, and we can review if there's anything additional needed or wanted as we develop more of our place plans. Thanks.
Thank you, Elaine. Are you content, Alderman Bauer? Yep. Moving on then, members. 6.1 is the appointment to Reserve Forces and Cadets Association for Northern Ireland. I'm in your hands on this item. Officers would need to steer and bring in Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, Chair. Having appreciated the work that has previously been done by the Veterans Champion, and having read the letter received, you can appreciate the value of this post, and you can also probably appreciate the role that it is and the significant rise of in requests that they're getting. So I think I would be happy enough. I think we would be happy enough, Councillor Savage, to suggest that there was a deputy that could step in if necessary, and maybe cover. We have the second biggest borough, of course, as I used to saying quite a lot, which is it's a large area to cover, let's say, and I think it probably would be very useful.
Thank you. Councillor Flaherty, I'll bring in Alderman Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. I just read this letter just today, so probably need a bit more information on it. I don't know if the Chief Executive has done any work on this in terms of other councils. Are other councils doing this? Is this something that's went to other councils as well, or is it just us as the largest council? As Belfast, for example, have they got a deputy champion? Has this happened before? Is this totally new? And also, in terms of the statutory position, I know it's sort of let out a bit there. Does it have to run through the hunt then if we wanted to appoint someone else, or is it a recommendation from the county? Or, you know, what's the mechanics of how actually it would work?
I'll bring in the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chairman. I've only had a conversation with one colleague who has received the letter, and I'm not sure that they have agreed how or where they are taking this forward, Chairman. So I'm not too sure on where everyone else is going. I would have thought that all 11 councils would probably have received the same letter. I'm guessing it's a standard letter. With regard to the statutory position, one of our positions of responsibility at the annual meeting that we nominate to at the start of the term is membership of the Reserve Forces and Cadet Association. That's a statutory pick, and we've already nominated to this. This looks like it's a slightly different role. They're calling this the Veterans Champion and a Deputy Veterans Champion. So I don't know that those are necessarily, this Deputy Veterans Champion would be a statutory role per se that would fall under DeHunt and those picks, but it's something I can check out if members wish.
Bring it back in, Alderman Baxter.
Yeah, well, just on the information you're giving us then, through you, Chair, the Chief Executive, maybe we could get that information brought back. I think it's important maybe to consider it properly, really. I don't think we have all the information maybe then in front of us.
Bring in Alderman Barr.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And sort of just to give you a way of background, this is something that was advocated for by all 11 VC's Veterans Champions sort of before the election, sort of towards January time it was advocated for, and obviously I was one of them. And what sort of the detail behind it is really sort of a lot of the time that all VCs could attend meetings, or obviously with looking at our own council area, you do struggle to get across it and to help support or to attend meetings and attend events and stuff like that. And really from sort of our perspective, it was to sort of have like a sort of 2 AC, somebody that can attend meetings or to sort of act as the VC when needed be, whenever the other VC wasn't there. But I don't think it was intended to be sort of political or anything like that there, or it wasn't intended to be, you know, a real difficult sort of situation for the support to go there. And sort of from my own perspective, I know having done it from sort of 2014 when this council amalgamated, and then it wasn't the VC, but I sat on the RIFCA committee before that, and sort of their process is a bit slow, and it should have came a lot earlier to all councils. And the letter did go out to all councils for consideration, and I'm not too sure how many councils is actually going to run with it or to help support them. But obviously that's up to them individual councils. But obviously, having been there, done that, bought the T-shirt, I would be supportive of having a Veterans Champion deputy to support the Veterans Champion in their role. So obviously, with a bit of experience behind it, they can help fill in, you know. So that's from my own perspective. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Barr. I'll bring in Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to second Councillor Flaherty's proposal that we go ahead with this. I think it's a very important role. We need to ensure that the council area is fully covered. with 2 representatives, so happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. We have a proposal. It's been seconded. Do we all agree? No, no agreement. So we require a vote on this one. So
recorded vote, Chairman.
Hold on, bring in Alderman Baxter.
Chair, look, I'm not against it by any means. I just think we don't have enough information to consider it properly. Given what the Chief Executive has told us. Certainly not against it. You know, I just
Councillor Flaherty, really in your hands.
Would there be some possibility of some further information that would make Councillor Baxter or Alderman Baxter, sorry, a bit more comfortable by full council? Yeah? Yeah? There we go. We'll discuss it further.
Thank you, members. So we'll leave that one then to full council for further information. We'll move on to item 6.2, which is the report on changes to this committee's terms or Economic Development Committee's terms of reference. So we'll bring in Sharon.
Thank you very much, Chair. Members, this report simply amends the terms of reference of the Leisure Services and Economic Development Regeneration Committee terms of reference to reflect the decision made by members as part of the governance review to change the reporting line of community services into the Economic Development Regeneration Committee. So the changes are highlighted in the appendix, and in order to better reflect the work of the committee, it's further recommended that the Economic Development Regeneration Committee be renamed the Economic Development Community and Regeneration Committee. The recommendations are set out there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sharon. And I was at committee last night and I thought it was a good fit, but I'll bring in Alderman Baxter.
You remember a different committee than I was at, Mr. Chairman. Listen, I think we had our first meeting. I think it's maybe a bit premature to start changing the name of the committee and that. And I think we need to review it even and when we come back in September, even after another 3 months or so. I'm just not so sure. I'm just not convinced by it at all, to be honest. But I'm happy to review it again and maybe even 3 months after September, October, November, maybe before the end of the year, before we would actually commit to making it a permanent change, because you know, there's a lot of new faces around this chamber, and that probably doesn't give us a clear picture. And there's a lot of new people here as well of actually how successful it's been or how successful it can be going forward. So, not convinced either way, but I think a deferral even for 3 months and review at the end would be my proposal.
Thank you, Alderman Baxter. I'll bring in Alderman Moutre.
Thank you, Chair. I would be of the same mind as my colleague. I think we need a settling in period before we make any changes, see how it pans out in about 3 months or so. Thank you. Happy to second.
Bring you in there, Sharon. Is that possible that we could review the terms of reference in the autumn time?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, content to do that because the report also recommends reviewing all the terms of reference and just refreshing them and bringing them back before members. We can do that through the governance working group, Chair, as well. We have a meeting and then bring that back for members' consideration.
Thank you, Sharon. All members content with that? All agreed? Thank you, members. And moving on then to item 6.3 or 6.3, yes, the NILGA subscription fee. I'll bring in Sharon again.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this is the recommendation is for you to approve the Council's payment of the NILGA membership fee, which is set out within the report. Appended to the document is a letter from NILGA that gives an overview of some of the work that the organisation does. Clearly, some members be very familiar with this work and are closely involved in some of the working groups and hold positions on NILGA, but just bring it before members so that we can process this payment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I'll bring in Alderman Moutre.
Thank you, Chair. Just as a member of the NILGA executive, I think I better declare an interest here.
Thank you, Alderman Moutray. I'll bring in Councillor McClelland.
Indeed, Chair, on the same vein as my colleague, as a member of the NILGA executive, I declare an interest. Thank you.
Yeah, just the same, Chair. Conflict of interest, member of NILGA.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. We still need a proposer and a seconder. Alderman Baxter proposes. Councillor McConville Walker seconds. All agreed? Thank you, members. Next item on the agenda, members, is correspondence, and I've received no correspondence. So at this point, I need to seek a proposer and a seconder to go into committee to consider the confidential items of business. But if a proposer and a seconder. Alderman Moutray proposed, Alderman Baxter seconded. So members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into confidential session of the council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ACT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed? Thank you. Members, agenda item 13, any other relevant business? I've been properly notified of one item of other business, so I'll hand over to Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Chair. I know we're near the end here, so I'll be brief. It's just in relation to some members will be aware of, like, there's like an old World War II pillbox there in Armagh, and just want to place my record and thanks to the estates team and Mark for all the work they did to help to secure that site. There's a bit of antisocial behaviour in that area, causing some distress to that facility and nearby residences. So that's good to get that clear. The issue I want to raise is that one of the residents said that back when that old site was preserved in the mid-2000s, I think, in terms of the development, there was some discussion at that time, maybe recently, about an information board being put up and to provide some information on the site to deter maybe some antisocial behaviour. I'm not sure whether that's still in the conversation or what the situation is. Just obviously could look into that to see what the situation is, or maybe how that potential information signage could be requested. But I'd for officers to come back to me just on that one, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery, and bringing Alderman Barr.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And we had asked for Council to do something what Councillor Lavery is asking for right across the borough, because obviously there's ones there in Rathfriend and right down sort of the Bann River. They did do a piece of work that was launched last year with leaflets that was distributed about. I would love to see an educational board on all of our World War II artifacts. It would be absolutely fantastic, and whatever there is there from World War I, because there's sites that were used for drilling and whatnot. But yeah, I would be supportive of Councillor Lavery's. If it was a proposal, I'd happy to second it, but equally, if it wasn't, I'll propose it. But yeah, it would be fantastic to see this, but I know there was, through the works that they were doing, they couldn't ascertain who was the landowners, and a lot of them. But yeah, happy to support it, and maybe they could revisit it, or maybe if they have that report, they could reissue that report. Thank you, Chairman.
Alderman Barr, will you be content to speak to Mark about that? Well, there was no proposal or anything. Like, so if you have a conversation with Mark, maybe then work a way forward in terms of what it is you're seeking.
No problem, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, members, for going easy on me tonight, but it would be remiss of me tonight to not end the meeting, or to end the meeting without mentioning that tonight is our strategic director, Sharon McNichols, last night at committee. And I mean, I've been on committee and on the working groups with Sharon throughout her time with the council, and I have to say I found her a fantastic officer. I thought during the industrial action last year she was a real champion for the council, and kept an even keel between what was at a very, very difficult time for parties and individual members and for trade unions. But Sharon was always a smiling, warm face in the room, and I know that she'll be missed by this council, and certainly Belfast Council's gain is very much BC Council's loss, and we will certainly be sorry to see her leave. And just as Chair of Governance, I'd like to wish her all the very best for the future and her new career back in the big smoke. So all the best, Sharon. Thank you very much. Yep, I'll bring in Councillor Lavery. I think you were first.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, just on behalf of the Alliance Party, I'd like to thank Sharon for all the work they've done on council. I know she's put substantial amount of effort in right across the piece in various departments, and has left a real positive legacy for this for her. As she said, it is ABC's loss, but Belfast gain. Maybe she'll be able to go up there and sort some of them Belfast ones out. But again, yeah, just on behalf of the Alliance, Sharon, just thank you so much for everything you've done here in the borough, and wish you all the best there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And just to be associated with the comments, Sharon, very sorry to see you go. I think it's been a difficult and challenging time here in council, but everything you've done, it's always been in a professional manner and always with a smile, even when things were tough. And maybe you didn't get maybe a smooth ride sometimes in committees, as all the directors and chief executive do. You always done it with a smile, and you never held it against any member, any councillor. And I think You're always at the end of a phone. And any time I've ever had to contact you, you've always come back with information very, very quickly and done everything in a very professional manner. And we'll miss you as you leave. And you go to pastures new, but it's a good challenge for you, and it's a great appointment for Belfast, I have to say. And I wish you all the best as you head down to the big smoke.
Thank you very much, Chair. Oh, Sharon, I'm emotional at the best of times, so I will be brief, because we've had many a chat, and I think a lot of you know that, and you've always been a great champion for this council, and particularly for women in this council and women in civic life. And we were very grateful for everything that you did, particularly for the ladies that were in my group. You were very, very supportive, and we'll be very thankful for that. It is Belfast skiing. I know you're going back, so to speak, and we'll be sorry to see you go, but I know you'll do a great job, whatever you turn your hand to, but you will be very missed here.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty, and yes, thank you very much, Sharon. And once again, thank you, members, for giving me a nice, comfortable ride in my first committee meeting. And we'll see you all back here again in September. So thank you.